Hey, True Believers, England here, and part 3 of Why Marvel Sucks today, and we're going to talk about how all the characters are the same. Now, that actually might go, wait a second, hold on, Thor's not the same as Iron Man. Iron Man isn't the same as Cyclops. You could say that, but we're going to be going a little bit deeper into not just, of course, you know, they got different names and like that, but there's like 52,000 Wolverines out there right now. Remember, remember when he was an original character, a unique character? With me to talk about that, of course, we have the real Dr. VENKMAN, except no substitutes.
How's it going?
And of course, back issue Breen himself, gracing my channel once again.
Good evening, kids.
All righty.
Look at that smile.
I know, right? So this is something that I gotta say 100% isn't just now. Obviously, because of copyright situations, they had to make a She-Hulk. Back in in 1980, they had to make a Spider-Woman to cover, just so DC didn't go, haha, you got Spider-Man, we got Spider-Woman. So this isn't 100% new. But do we need so many? I guess that's the big question. Breen, what's your take on this? What's your off the cuff?
Well, when I think about, you know, how characters used to evolve, you know, like at DC, you know, you had a Flash and a Kid Flash, and you know, a Superman, a Superboy, but they were different characters used in, you know, to tell different kinds of stories. And now it seems like both companies, Marvel more so than DC, is basically, for whatever reason, just, you know, cloning their characters. Like, you know, Miles Morales, for example, should be a great character in his own right, but, you know, not as the name Spider-Man. He deserves his own identity.
Yes.
You know, Wolverine, you know, X-23 started off as X-23. And then they insisted on calling her Wolverine. They've gone as far as now She-Hulk is just to be referred to as Hulk. And I don't know if it's, you know, trying to, you know, cater to a different audience that they want, that wants to identify with their version of a character. But if they're going to exist, you know, simultaneously, yeah, I think you find that most people prefer the original, and you know, it's almost like there's a built-in prejudice against, you know, characters that are perceived as just, you know, knockoffs of the originals.
Well, one thing though, and you brought this up with when they take a character like She-Hulk, we were talking about this when we were having the auction over on I Love Comics, and there was a She-Hulk lot. You know, she's sensational. You know, at one point she's sensational, but when she was Savage, she was just She-Hulk. She was the, you know, she was the Hulk, but female. Now, with the way they draw her, forget about the she. Even, yep. I mean, it's just, it is. They destroyed a decent character, and they made it exactly like the Hulk. Once again, all characters are the same. VENKMAN, what do you think?
Well, what they're not doing right now, again, we're dropping the she in it. It feels like they're trying to get rid of the pronouns. As far as they're just going to call her Hulk. Because especially back in Savage days, she actually was basically a clone of her cousin, you know. And then when you got to Sensational, she broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, or by the time she got to Sensational,
yeah, around that. Yeah,
working on that through the Avengers and through Fantastic Four about her being.
She had her own thing. Yeah, she was not only was she female, she acted female. She didn't act like her cousin. You know.
Yeah.
She totally different. She had more control over her character.
So you had a clear difference between the She-Hulk and the Hulk, and now it's just there is none, and that goes to what we were saying about how it seems like, oh, we want to promote this character that's not a white male, and they're doing that by giving the entire identity of the white male to that character. Like, you're not doing anything. This is creating a new character. It's just.
And you could say that DC's copying him again with all the different Flashes there are now. We already had Kid Flash. Now there's Wallace from an alternate timeline. While he's back, Then you have this Chinese Flash. I forget what her name is, but she's in there. And then there's Dr. Mina, who also became a Flash because they had their Hulk is called Flashstorm, was one of the events of Joshua Williams. So everyone had powers. You have Godspeed. You have.
You're a Flash. He's a Flash.
I know.
Wouldn't you like to be Flash too?
But at least with DC, they're all with the exception of Kid Flash, but no one is using that. No one was using that actual name at the time.
Yeah,
that's true.
Each character has a different name, a different origin. It's like with to go back to Marvel, for example, Riri Williams, when they first created her, she became Iron Man. Well, there's a problem with that. There already is an Iron Man, and Riri Williams is not a man.
Yeah.
Now they corrected that mistake. They gave her her own identity, so problem solved. But going back a few years with the Hulk, the Amadeus Cho Hulk, that was another character that was just supposed to go by the Hulk, and it was very easy to come up with less than flattering nicknames for him. I can remember Gogurt Hulk, Faux Hulk,
that's what I like.
Bro Hulk.
One, he had that freaking faux hawk going on, and he was the fake Hulk. Yeah.
Now, even with Jane Foster as Thor, instead of giving her her own name, they just put while they were taking she off of Hulk, they were putting it onto Thor, and again, it's the character loses their own identity for the sake of I don't know, diversity or whatever you want to call it, but it does a disservice to the characters. If you're gonna dilute the brand, at least come up with some different names, while you're doing it.
And that's, I think you stepped on something right there with the whole bit about how they're ruining characters in the name of diversity. And it's not because it's like, oh my gosh, they made it a woman or anything like that. No. You wiped out the identity when you did that, because what they do is, my brother, by the way, you could see it on I Love Comics, did a video called Man with Boobs. I think he wrote it and I voiced it. But the whole point is that you're not giving them their own identities. You're just saying this is exactly like Thor was, but now it's a woman. Now Thor that you knew just has boobs. Same character traits, nothing different, nothing new under the sun. It's just this guy now has boobs.
Well, I felt the same way when they started saying we're gonna trash Steve Rogers, make him Hydra guy. See, the whole entire time, everything you learned was a lie. So this gonna make Sam Wilson, who's great as Falcon, to make him basically a false Captain America. They erased his identity as Falcon, which was awesome. He had his own personality. Now I'm just Falcon with a shield. No.
And they call it a promotion.
Yeah. And Les would say, not that it's just Sam Wilson. It's the same with, for storyline purposes, when Cap was killed at the end of Civil War, they gave the shield to Bucky.
Yep.
Now, that was always meant to be temporary. And eventually Steve Rogers, Captain America has to be Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Because, Steve Rogers is, the embodiment of the American spirit. Captain America is just the vessel he uses to carry that out. That's
the way it should be. It can't be like there was that issue number 25, which I told you is one of the worst comic books I've ever read. Issue 25 of Captain America during the Secret Empire, where everybody's looking at Falcon as if he was Steve. It's not. And I had an argument with one of Marvel's editors about this. I said, if that's the case, then it does not matter the person in the outfit. So long as that outfit, like I could put on that outfit and people would go, oh, it's Captain America. No, it can't be. It has to be the person. Like in the Marvel Universe with Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man goes up to Spider-Man and says, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it.
Yep.
And that's something that we're losing. But here's the thing. We're talking about how all the characters are the same. And of course, you could take that two different ways. The first way, and this is the part that we're really talking about right here, is how they just keep copying. And look, we understand, like you said, Superman, Superboy, Supergirl, Super Horse. You know, there's a Beppo the Super Monkey. You know, there's all sorts of supers. They actually did away with a whole bunch of them in Crisis and anything, only to bring them back later. But but they, you know, they wanted to consolidate. Look, one of my biggest complaints about these days, because I don't want to look. I love DC. I don't want to let them off the hook, but I would love to have a solo Batman title for a while. Wouldn't you?
It's Batman like this, Batman like that.
I understand they're not all called Batman. They don't have to be. But look what we have. We have Batman. We have Nightwing. We have Robin. We have Robin, Red Robin now. We have Red Hood. We have everybody is basically the same thing. And they're, we're exactly like this guy, but let me complain about this guy because when I was growing up, he treated me like a douche.
Well, I'll say what made sense for DC when they did this is during No Man's Land. Even during Cataclysm, Barbara was no longer Batgirl. It made sense for Cassandra Cain to come up with a new Batgirl because she couldn't. She's Oracle. Oracle is in a wheelchair, so Barbara couldn't do it. So it made more sense to have someone come and help out. Now, but once Barbara took her out of the wheelchair and gave her legs back, now we have all these Batgirls. We have Stephanie Brown who became Batgirl instead of being spoiler.
She's there, spoiler. Yeah. But here's the thing that I don't like, and you see this a lot, especially with Batman. You see this so much with Batman these days that you used to see with Wolverine in the 90s. We have a new character, or we want to support this particular character. In Batman and the Outsiders, this is happening huge with Black Lightning. In order for them to elevate Black Lightning, they got to talk about how weak Batman really is. And no, that's not the way to do it. Batman should always be like this force of will. And I get it, but what they're saying is nope. He's a hurt little child. And that's one thing for us to know as readers. Okay, yes, he's psychologically damaged. But when a writer is putting it into a book that he's a weak little child and other characters are seeing that, Batman's lost his mystique. Batman has lost his superpower. Batman's superpower, take away all the gadgets and everything. Batman's superpower is his mind and his body, and one of those things is intimidation. The ability to use that without, and with the whole thing about, oh, he's just a weak little crying kid, you lose that.
And I want to comment. This actually takes away into basically what's wrong with wrestling right now, because wrestling is saying they have the new guy is supposed to be put up by the old guy, but everybody still loves the old guy. Nobody loves the new guy, so it never works. That's why John Cena's still in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's designed to work once. When you're introducing a new character, if you use the established character to help get the new character over, that's fine, but not at the permanent expense of the established character.
Yeah.
And I think that's, speaking to E's point, you want Black Lightning to, be Batman's equal, rising versus, one falling. And that's that's something that I think another trope that modern comics lapses into is they do. It's almost like they have to tear down the established character to promote the one they're elevating, and which really doesn't make sense in the case of Batman and the Outsiders, because Black Lightning as a character is, if you think about it now, he has been around for longer than half of the time DC has been publishing superhero comics.
That's true. He was in the 70s. I mean, as I know very well, something that came out of the 70s is now 50 years old.
Yes.
So I get that. And Black Lightning is a strong character in itself. You don't have to weaken Batman to make Black Lightning of all people a strong character.
This is what they're doing for Joker War right now. They dumbed down basically Batman in order for Catwoman to get access to his codes to give Joker the money. Batwoman have a changing password every freaking day.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I agree with you completely. Like those numbers would have been so out of date at this point.
At least to their credit, they have pretty much fixed those mistakes in the last issue or two. Batman is all the way back. He even said it. He goes, "It's like I'm thinking clearly for the first time in a year." Gee, I wonder who that was a shot at.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thing's gone.
That was a king size dig.
Oh, that is awesome. That is a great.
Everyone's taking, and if you notice today, everybody's taking digs at him. Joshua Williams took a dig at him by retconning Heroes for Hire, which was another horrible mistake by DC.
Oh, it was horrible. The Heroes for Hire was not Heroes for Hire. When you
Heroes
said that,
Crisis.
I'm sorry, Heroes in Crisis. My bad.
It was not a good story. But when you said that, for some reason, my mind went to Dial H for Heroes, so I was nowhere near that, which was Bendis, and he screwed that up. So one thing I do want to point out also, because we're mentioning, like I mentioned the Bat family, and that's a point of contention with me. Give me a solo Batman title just once. But also, how many Wolverines are there? You mentioned X-23. Isn't there a Dakin? Isn't there a
Honey Badger?
A Honey Badger? Yeah, I mean, I was like, how many Wolverine characters do you need in one company? Seriously, Wolverine used to be unique.
You're a Wolverine. You're a Wolverine. We're all Wolverine. Yeah.
Well, again, if they're done right, you can expand the brand, but it's when they, it's more when, like I said, when like Amadeus Cho, he has the same powers as the Hulk, and he looks like the Hulk, he acts like the Hulk, and
except for he doesn't.
Well, yeah, well, that's well, the idea is for him to, but at least like now you can say, okay, Honey Badger and X-23, that's completely redundant. At least Dakin has an entirely different personality from his dad, so that and we let you shift over to Hulk. You have Scar. We left him out when we were naming Hulks. It's so yeah. I mean, yes, it dilutes the brand, and again, there's a balance to doing the characters well, but at the end of the day, the reason why we still love the originals is because they have stood the test of time. And I know that a counter argument is, well, if you don't give the new characters a chance, then how are they ever going to be around long enough to pass the test of time? To which I would counter, then give them their own identities.
Yeah,
and
let us let the new identities last long enough to be accepted.
Yeah, if you're just making Wolverine girl, or if you're just making Wolverine son, and he's with a mohawk. What is it with hey, you got faux hawk, now you got mohawk Wolverine. If that's the only difference, then yeah.
I will point out to Bendis' credit here, when he did Ultimate Spider-Woman, which basically was a female clone, basically he took the version of X-23, made a female version of Peter Parker. But she not only she had his memories, but she actually had her own different personality like this. And the way X-23, back in the day, X-23 was great. Unfortunately, Ultimate Spider-Man, the whole universe, and all this, basically, they just trashed that.
Wait,
the whole universe.
Do they all have adamantium claws?
She did bone claws at first, though, I believe.
Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, wasn't one? I mean, Sabretooth has a healing factor, but he couldn't get the adamantium.
No.
I mean, wouldn't it be a situation where some of them wouldn't be able to? Is it just, I don't know.
No, for Sabretooth, the only way to defeat him is get that Mursa blade, which basically negates healing factors.
Now, you were onto something there a second ago, Venk, when you talk about something I said earlier about it's almost like they're giving the audience that they want to replace the audience they have with their own characters to identify with. Well, I thought that was the design of the Ultimate Universe. And when they first created it, they said these characters will never, and they did the Chris Jericho ever be in the 616. Well,
didn't they say I thought they originally advertised this is not your grandfather's comics.
Yeah, and let's take these characters and put them into Grandpa's comics. Look, also I do want to mention I did bring up the Bat family, and I understand they're just kind of clones of each other rather than what we're talking about with the Wolverines. And in all honesty, I like most of the Bat books, so that is I don't know how that kind of compares. It's just
okay. Well, I'll answer. I'll answer that using something that you like to say a lot. There are no bad characters, only bad writers.
Writers, yeah.
If you're gonna treat characters like a 6-hour VHS tape and you keep recording over it by the 5th or 6th time, it's grainy as hell. Well, that's where we are with some of these characters. Like, Amadeus Cho as the Hulk is that 6th or 7th time recording on that tape. Yeah. So you're going to need to have, a damn good writer to make that, character work. And Marvel, great writers at Marvel are in short supply and have been basically since, Alonso took over, 8 years ago. Now, the reason why...
Oh, sorry.
Real quick. The reason why you don't notice it as much at DC is because they do have a deeper bench of talented writers, so they're able to pull it off. That's why Tim Drake is not Dick Grayson, who is not Damian Wayne, who is not Duke Thomas. For that matter. I mean, they make those characters all work because I just think they have better writers, and that's so that's what's keeping DC from falling into a lot of the traps that Marvel seems to be sinking in.
And I would say, Tim seems like the person they basically have crazy about coffee. He'd be the person that's always up. He's more the detective all the time, where Dick is more like the carefree, the pretty boy. You look at Damien, he's just like, I'm better than all of you. I'm going to beat the crap out of you guys.
Well,
I love that. And Red Hood is just like, I don't want to work with any of you. He's the loner personality.
I will say this about Marvel, and this is one thing to think about. We had Lady Thor, we had Thor, we've got all sorts of Wolverines. Captain America even had John Walker and about 15 different other people. And I know I'm exaggerating on that, but there is one character, and I keep saying it's the best, and I keep saying, and you're representing Breen, there's one character they still let be an original, and his book is consistently awesome. And that's Daredevil. Just saying. Let him be the original. Don't have a whole bunch of people diluting. There you go.
See, I thought you were going in a different direction. I was going to, as an example of, doing this right was, James Rhodes as Iron Man.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It worked. And it worked so well, they realized, but here's the difference between Marvel decades ago and Marvel today. They said, wow, we have something. Fans really, really like James Rhodes. And, at some point it dawned on them, we should, put him in some sort of suit of armor. Now, it obviously wasn't, instant, but eventually they came up with the War Machine idea because, fans remembered how good the James Rhodes run as Iron Man was. And that's something that, I guess that's probably why Jean Paul lasted got a 100-issue comic at Azrael. I mean, after in his post Batman career, because they made these characters that were filling in interesting enough to where you wanted to read more. I don't know how many people are out there clamoring for Jane Foster and a new identity, and that's what happens when the identity is that character girl.
We have her now as Valkyrie, and I mean it's still going. It's on issue number 10. I don't hear anybody ever talking about it, good or bad.
And I say I do chalk this up to a lot of bad writing because you look what they're doing in the cartoon series as far as with the Spider-Man stuff. They have Ghost Spider, they have Miles. Miles, they all have you can see distinct personalities between all of them, but you don't see in the comic books. So they all seem kind of like kind of dull.
I'm afraid.
I love what they did with especially Ultimate Spider-Man. He kept saying he kept telling Miles, "You're a kid erected. I'm Spider-Man. You cannot be called Spider-Man. There can only be one." And then when the other ones popped up, he's like, "Why are there more spiders?" So they kind of make fun of the comic books in the cartoons. But I wish they would get the writers from these cartoon series, Disney XD, and if you're gonna do a kids thing, bring it over and actually apply it to what their personalities in the comic books are. Because right now, the Marvel action seems a little bit more better than what I'm seeing currently with Miles Spider-Man. Because Miles just seems like, hey, I'm from Ultimate 1610. Hi, how's it going? Can I be Spider-Man too? And they're like, sure.
I can tie this up into a nice, neat little bow.
Okay.
What's the most derided storyline in the first 40 years of Marvel?
Most derided?
Mm-hmm.
In the first
I don't know what you mean by the word.
60 to 2000, the most derided would be the Clone Saga.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
What ran rampant through the Clone Saga?
Clones?
Spider clones.
Spider.
And even though they tried, Ben, Kane, whatever, there's something, and
Spider Scorpion, even Ultimate had their own.
It didn't work. So that's, so everything basically got reset. But then, a handful of years later, some of these characters start trickling back in. Now, I was one of the few people that was actually sorry to see Ben Reilly go.
Yes.
But
he had his own personality.
I was in the minority at the time. Well, he did and he didn't, but that's neither here nor there. But, I said, so you take something that has become the butt of, of jokes for any old time collector, and they basically spent the 21st century, cloning that storyline only with individual characters.
I remember when they had Ben take over as Spider-Man, and he's sitting on the couch watching football with Venom, and they're both having a beer, and MJ's in there. I'm thinking, like, what am I reading here? It's like,
but I'm glad you guys brought up Spider-Man, because he's one that's been bothering me as far as this particular thing is concerned. Also, I get it, the Spider family. Sorry, but when you bring up Miles Morales, his entire job seems to be doing the stories that you could get from 1960s Spider-Man that you can no longer get because Peter's grown up, and we want him grown up and married to Mary Jane about 15, 20 years ago. And couldn't you stop?
It worked. Miles worked best in Ultimate Spider-Man because Peter Parker retired from the role of Spider-Man because he after everybody thought he was dead, he actually came. He didn't die. Like he basically, like the Clark Kent thing. He basically slowly healed himself. And then him and MJ just went out to live a quiet life together. And he said, Miles,
that was actually the original ending to the Clone Saga.
Yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be, where, Ben Reilly, you're Spider-Man now. We're going to go off and live together.
Yep.
So they finally got their Clone Saga ending. Oy vey. And
then they realized, we can't do that. Wait, we need Peter Parker. Yeah. And
all right. It's ridiculous. It really.
So that's why I still, to this day, as much as people hate Bendis, I would still have the Ultimate Universe over, because then you can do all this crap you don't like in that universe.
Well, there you go.
And it would still sell. It would still sell.
Last words on this particular subject there, Breen?
Oh, I think I blathered on enough with my last point.
All righty. Well, anyway, gang, thanks for hanging out and talking to us and listening to us talk about this thing. What do you think about the clone characters and like I said, I believe they're diluting the characters themselves. I understand DC does do this as much as Marvel is concerned. By all means, let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget, of course, to click like and share and hit one of the videos that pop up around the ending around this time. If you don't mind helping out the channel, going over to Patreon or Ko-Fi, links in the description below, and drop $1 in the till. Helps keep the lights on around these places. All righty. Basically, you're helping me keep my wife happy over there and singing rather than throwing things at my head. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.